Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Sure.
Today we're going to kind of scrub in, I guess you could say,
Okay.
and look at setting up a sterile suture tray.
Oh, fun.
Now we're not actually going to do it, obviously,
Right.
because that would be a little hard to do over audio only.
Yes.
So
It'd be
we're going to be talking about it today.
very messy.
Yeah, but so we found this really interesting research article all about sterile suture tray setup.
Okay.
I thought it would be interesting to kind of go through this and understand it from the perspective of if we were going to do this in like a medical procedure, what are the steps that are involved and like why is it important?
Absolutely, because
I think could be so sterile.
we hear about sterile all the time
Really?
in medical field, but
Yeah.
what does that actually mean? Like,
Yeah.
what does that look like?
What are the actual steps? And I thought it was really interesting because like one of the things that they talk about in here is how important hand hygiene is.
Mhm.
And I was like, duh, like obviously you're going to wash your hands. But
Right.
it's interesting when you actually look at like, okay, but
Like the steps.
what are the steps?
Yeah,
Like, what does that actually look like?
totally.
So I think that that's going to be interesting to break down. And then also just like the fact that they talk about the surface cleaning, like how that has to be done
Yeah.
in a specific way
Yeah.
and the environmental controls.
Yes.
It's not just about your hands. It's about like the whole room.
Oh, yeah. It's everything.
Has to be.
It's the whole setup.
Exactly. And why all of that is so important.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, why don't we just dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay. So the first thing that that they talk about is this hand hygiene thing,
Hmm.
which seems obvious,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe you could talk a little bit about like what is actually involved in the hand hygiene in this kind of setting.
Yeah, so it's more than just like your typical like I'm gonna go wash my hands for a few seconds before I eat. This is like a full-on surgical scrub.
Okay.
So you're gonna be scrubbing like the backs of your hands, your palms, in between your fingers up to your elbows
Wow.
for a significant amount of time. And there's even like a specific technique that you use.
Like a special hand dance?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
You got to make sure you get all the nooks and crannies and all that stuff. And the whole point of that is to really remove any of those microorganisms that could potentially contaminate the sterile field.
So it's not just like, oh, I got a little bit of dirt on my hands.
Right.
It's like there's actually bacteria there.
Yeah, you got staph, you got strep, you got all sorts of fun stuff living on your skin.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
So how long are we talking about for this scrub? Because,
Hmm.
you know, I feel like sometimes I'm in a rush and I give it a quick 5 seconds under
Yeah.
the faucet. Yeah.
Yeah, no, in this case, we're talking like a minimum of 20 seconds.
Okay.
Sometimes even 5 minutes.
5 minutes, that's intense.
Yeah. It is, but it's really crucial because you're trying to kill those little buggers.
So is it a special soap?
Yeah, it's an antimicrobial soap. So it's designed to kill those microorganisms. And the whole process is about maximizing contact between the soap and your skin to make sure you're really getting everything.
So it's not just like, oh, I lathered up, I'm good to go.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
And there's actually, even after the scrub, they use alcohol-based hand sanitizers too,
Oh, really?
just to get anything that's lingering.
To be extra safe.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I'm really starting to grasp just how much effort goes into this sterility thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so hands are clean, check. What about the tray itself?
Right.
I mean, how do we make sure that it's completely free of any little microbes that might be hanging around?
Yeah, so that's where the surface cleaning comes in. And this is, again, not your typical, like, wiping down the counter after dinner kind of cleaning.
Got it.
This is serious business.
Okay.
We're talking about achieving asepsis, which is like the complete absence of all those harmful microorganisms.
So this is next level clean.
Yeah, we're not messing around here.
Okay.
So we use these heavy-duty hospital-grade disinfectants, like ones that contain quaternary ammonium compounds or bleach solutions.
Those sound pretty intense.
They're way stronger than anything you use at home, and they're specifically designed to destroy those bacteria, viruses, and even fungi.
Wow. So it's like a microbial massacre.
Pretty much.
But I'm guessing it's not just a quick spray and wipe.
No, you're absolutely right.
There's got to be more to it.
It's all about the contact time.
Contact time.
Yeah, so the disinfectant has to sit on the surface for a specific amount of time to really do its job. Like bleach, for example, might need to sit for a full 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, you can't just wipe it off right away.
So there's like a waiting game.
Exactly. Patience is key in this process.
You spray, you wait, and then sterile battlefield ready for action.
Exactly.
This is kind of blowing my mind. I never realized how much detail goes into creating a sterile environment.
Yeah, it's definitely more involved than people realize.
So we've tackled hand hygiene. We've conquered the surface cleaning.
Right.
What else is there to consider?
Well, believe it or not, it's not just about what you're touching. It's also about the environment around you.
The environment, you mean like the whole room?
The whole room, exactly.
I
Think of it like creating this invisible bubble of protection around the sterile field, and that means controlling everything that's happening in that space.
That sounds pretty intense.
It is, but it's crucial for minimizing the risk of contamination.
So what kind of things do you actually do to control the environment?
Well, for starters, you limit the traffic in and out of the room so you don't have people tracking in dirt and germs.
Makes sense.
Everyone in the room has to wear surgical gowns and masks to prevent any particles from their clothes or breath from getting into the sterile field.
Oh, so that's why those operating rooms always look so empty.
Exactly. It's all about minimizing potential sources of contamination.
Not exactly a cozy living room vibe, huh?
No, not quite. But that emptiness is what keeps the environment sterile. And we also control things like the temperature and humidity in the room.
Why is that important?
Well, controlling the humidity prevents condensation, which can harbor bacteria, and maintaining a comfortable temperature helps the surgical team focus on the task at hand without being distracted by feeling too hot or too cold.
Wow, I'm seeing a real theme here.
Uh,
Everything has to be perfect.
Pretty much. There's no room for error when it comes to sterility.
You know, it's funny, our source actually included this really helpful summary table that kind of breaks down all the key steps in setting up a sterile suture tray.
Oh yeah, that table is super useful.
It's like a cheat sheet for surgical cleanliness.
Exactly. It's a great reference, especially when you're in a high-pressure situation and need to make sure you're following every step correctly.
And it covers everything we've talked about, right?
Yeah, it starts with hand hygiene, then goes into surface disinfection and all those important environmental controls.
So if we had to summarize it all, what are the 3 pillars of a sterile setup?
Okay, so the 3 pillars are
Drum roll, please.
hand hygiene,
Yes.
surface cleaning,
Yeah.
and environmental controls.
Boom, sterile suture tray setup achieved.
Exactly.
It's amazing how something that seems so simple on the surface actually involves so much detail and precision.
It really is. It's like an iceberg. You only see the tip, but there's a whole lot going on beneath the surface.
So I'm curious, now that we've delved into this world of sterility,
Mhm.
do you look at those everyday cuts and scrapes a little differently?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, does putting on a Band-Aid suddenly feel like a major medical procedure?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, knowing all the effort that goes into maintaining sterility in a surgical setting definitely makes you appreciate the importance of even basic wound care.
You know what? I think I'm going to start wearing a mask and gown while I'm doing the dishes,
Uh-huh.
just to be extra safe.
Yeah.
You can never be too careful,
Right.
right? But in all seriousness, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of sterile suture tray setup.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining me on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, stay sterile out there, or at least try your best. See ya.
You've been listening to the Learning Podcast, a production of metaNESTA. Remember, learning is a journey, one step, one insight, one skill at a time. We'll see you next time. Keep learning, stay curious, and as always, be awesome.